welcome to Halton News Live at 5. I'm Melissa Candelaria, filling in for Jessica Kading. And as always, we begin our cast with a look at Halton's COVID numbers. Region-wide, there are 607 active cases with 60 reported deaths. Now, that may seem like a jump of just under 90 cases compared to yesterday's numbers, but I do have to let you know that the spike is in part of a defect in the provincial database. Halton Region says about 50 or 60 cases entered into the database from November 17th to the 24th. Wasn't reported until yesterday, which led to a delay in the dashboard refresh, hence what seems like a large number of new cases today. Having said that, these numbers should still be taken seriously, with Milton reporting the most number of active cases with 238 and Halton Hills with the least at 46. To follow the data, all you have to do is go on the Halton Region's website. Well, big announcement today from the Premier's office. With me to talk more about that is MPP Stephen Crawford. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the program.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa, for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here, and you are correct. Minister Lecce, the Minister of Education, and the Premier made an announcement today in Mississauga about additional funding for school boards that are currently either in lockdown or in the red zone. Halton Board is a part of that. Obviously, the Halton region is somewhat affected by that. The announcement essentially is an additional investment of $13.6 million to the boards, and that would include Halton. And that money will be utilized to hire more cleaning staff, more teachers, and even up to 20,000 tablet computers that kids can take home for additional online learning. So we're really happy to see that announcement. That will definitely help and have a very positive effect right here in Halton.
Well, it certainly is great news for schools. And, you know, there have been some concerns with residents here in Halton, teachers as well, parents, with regards to the safety of schools. And this announcement certainly touches on that. Now, in particular, can you be a little bit more specific in terms of, you know, the hiring of more teachers? Does this mean we will have smaller classrooms, enhanced social distancing? Can you speak to that a little bit or share some more details?
Well, a lot of the additional funding, it's up to the school boards in terms of how they spend it. But you are correct in that we do want to have funding for additional teachers. It may be custodial staff. And as I mentioned, it could also be for more students that want to go online in the new year, but perhaps don't have the means to be able to afford an iPad, for example. So it'll be up to the school boards in terms of how they see fit, but the money's obviously being used to keep our students safe. And I might add as well that, you know, there's been very few incidences in terms of outbreaks at schools here in Ontario, and specifically in Halton. There always will be cases, but they do tend to be brought into the school as opposed to being spread throughout the school. So the schools are doing a really good job managing the students, managing the staff, keeping social distancing. So we've just got to stay on this course for a few more months until we can obviously start getting vaccines distributed here in Ontario. But we're doing a good job, but we've still got a little bit more runway ahead of us yet.
Well, you talk about vaccines, but we heard today that it might take longer than we had anticipated, than the province certainly had anticipated. So, you know, do you have a sense of maybe when we could get these vaccines rolled out? A lot of parents are concerned. I know that there haven't been any cases or many cases in schools, and it is one of the lowest places that have outbreaks, but there is still some concern there.
Yeah, there is in terms of getting the vaccines. And I know our provincial ministries, Minister Elliott's been in touch with the federal ministers. Ultimately, it's up to the procurement of the federal government. But unfortunately, we don't have much manufacturing capacity here in Ontario or Canada for that matter. But we want to get them here as soon as possible. And ultimately, it'll be up to federal government on that.
Okay, and you know, I want to also bring up, you know, another, I guess, touching point here with regards to the red zone and also the measures that were suggested to us of how we handle and celebrate our holidays that are coming up. Now, we are being told that we are supposed to stick within our household, but, you know, there are a lot of people out there that I'm seeing and residents who are going to break those rules anyway, but take their own self-care and measures to protect themselves while still visiting their family. Is there an opportunity there that perhaps the Premier could look into doing some sort of moral contract where you self-isolate a week or two before, open up the restrictions for about a couple days leading to Christmas, and then isolate again afterwards with the potential lockdown just in case? Is there any room for those types of discussions?
I don't think so. I mean, this COVID pandemic is a pandemic for a reason, and that's because this virus is spreading, and we have to be firm with the rules. I mean, I myself, look, I want to spend my Christmas with my parents physically, obviously, and my siblings and their families. I'm not able to do it this year. I'm going to stick to my household. We'll have a Zoom call. As tough as it is, I believe this will be the last Christmas we will have to get through living like this, but we've got to stay firm. We've got to make sure that the people of Ontario are protected and are safe. So unfortunately, there's really no room to break the rules here. We've got to be firm on this.
So then what would you say to those residents who are going to do it anyway?
Well, I would encourage them not to. I think they're putting everyone's safety at risk throughout this province. I mean, it only takes a few people. I mean, look, one person may go see their family and it may seem innocent, and I get it. I totally get it. I'd love to do the same thing to see my parents in an enclosed environment on Christmas Day, but we can't do that, because if hundreds of thousands of people do it, there will be more spreading of COVID, which will put more people in hospital and will have more people die. So we've got to stick together as a province on this, and we have to follow the rules.
Okay, well, you know what, we have run out of time, actually. It's always great to have you on the program to really put this into perspective. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much.
The City of Burlington is encouraging community spirit and connections while we are all staying physically distant. And considering what we just heard from our MP, comes at a perfect time. Manager of Community Development Denise Beard is on Burlington Matters tonight, and she explains how you can access money from the city to create some sort of neighborhood cheer during COVID-19.
We're trying to get people active and motivated to do stuff, which is great. And we're hearing that from our residents. So we're constantly being asked, what can I do? Because people want to get out and get active. And so what we've done is launched the Community Support Fund, which has been wildly successful. Lots of people are picking it up. They are applying mainly in their neighborhoods, which is great because we want people to stay in place and recreate and socialize in place. And they're coming up with creative ways to, especially for the holiday season coming up, creative ways to engage and make it still really special for people. So a lot of neighborhoods are doing decorating contests. Who's got the brightest house, who's got the most creative displays. They are doing virtual sing-songs. We're getting lots of great caroling happening in some way, shape, or form. We're seeing some artists doing some either performing arts or both singing and dancing online and sharing that out with the community. So there's lots of great ways people are taking advantage of the grant that we have out there. If people aren't aware, if you just go to the city's website and you type in Community Support Fund, you can see the application online, and we'll give you up to $5,000 to do something that will really motivate and bring people together and still celebrate in a respectful way that adheres to all the provincial guidelines.
Up to 5,000. That's awesome. Burlington Matters airs tonight at 7:30. Tune in to find out how the red COVID control zone affects rec programs, skating rinks, and even Santa's visit to the city during December. Now, Conservation Halton has been quite vocal this past few days about the importance of what they do, and in speaking out against Bill 229, for example, that they say essentially takes away their governing powers to a degree. So I am sure it was welcoming news to the agency when Milton MP Adam Van Couverden made this funding announcement today.
And what we're announcing today is a $55 million pledge across the country to protect species at risk in Canada. And this can range from tiny little minnows to salmon to larger animals and mammals as well. And here in Halton, it's all about the smaller species that live in our tributaries, 16 Mile Creek and Bronte Creek and the 14 Mile Creek. And Conservation Halton is getting $275,000 to continue the great work that they've been doing. But it's part of a $4.8 million commitment to various organizations in southwestern Ontario and $55 million across the country. So I'm here on behalf of Minister Bernadette Jordan, the Minister of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, to announce this great environmental commitment.
This announcement is in keeping with the government's plan for a greener Canada, and Van Couverden says Halton residents often wonder how these big announcements and initiatives will impact them.
Well, I often receive questions from constituents over email saying, what is the federal government doing locally for the environment? Because there's a lot of local concerns. Most of our announcements, because we're the government of Canada, are about megatons of carbon dioxide and, about huge land protections and coastal waterways. And we talk about the entire country as a whole. But the reality is the federal government does a lot of investing on a local level as well. And this is just one of those examples. Just earlier this year, we announced about $1 million for the harbor restoration project that's been going on in Hamilton with the Hamilton Harbor organizations, and that was a wonderful collaboration from all of the Golden Horseshoe MPs and the Minister of the Environment. This announcement is coming from the Minister of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. That it's across the country. It has implications from the Atlantic Ocean to the Arctic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean and all of the little lake streams and tributaries in between. So it is an example of the federal government making local investments that are having a really, really relevant impact on ecosystems locally.
Canadian Blood Services has had difficulty with participants who have signed up to be stem cell donors backing out when they receive the call to actually donate. Nikki Wesley has more on this troubling story.
Right now, when somebody donates stem cells, we can actually use them for over 80 diseases and disorders. The most common things are like blood cancers, so things like leukemia, lymphoma, but also other diseases like aplastic anemia.
During the pandemic, all in-community swabbing events have been canceled, which in the past was the main way for them to recruit donors.
Now we're having to rely on people to go virtually online to sign up and join the registry. But as you mentioned, our other problem that we're having is about 50% of the time that we actually call people who've registered, they don't follow through. And this can have devastating impacts to a patient because the longer it takes to locate and secure a donor, this is just adding time and delay to a patient's transplant who sometimes doesn't have that time on their side.
With patients waiting for life-saving donations of stem cells, it's crucial that registrants keep their contact information up to date with Canadian Blood Services, which has been a problem.
Another reason I think is that we recruit people onto the registry between the ages of 17 and 35. And sometimes a lot of the younger donors, they might not have necessarily had the conversation with their parents. So sometimes their parents aren't as informed about what goes into a stem cell donation. And so that's why I think we really want people to just know what they're signing up to do, to have those conversations with their families and let them know of their intention to be on the registry.
For those who want to help, there are two primary ways to donate stem cells.
A pregnant mom can donate her baby's cord blood. So cord blood is a rich source of stem cells. We collect the blood in the umbilical cord of the placenta, or an adult donor can donate stem cells. So if somebody signs up to a registry and they end up donating their stem cells, it can happen in one of two ways. One is through a bone marrow collection. So that's where you go under general anesthesia and we collect blood from the iliac crest in your back with a needle. And that only happens in probably 10% of the cases. The majority of cases of people who donate stem cells, it's through what we call a peripheral blood stem cell donation. So we hook you up to a machine very similar to donating blood, but you're usually on the machine for about 4 to 6 hours. And we take out the stem cells and all of your other blood cells are returned back to you. So that's why it takes a little bit of a longer process because you're sitting on the machine for a while.
They are especially looking for donors of diverse ethnic or mixed race backgrounds, as these patients often face more difficulty in finding a suitable donor.
You can just visit us on our website at blood.ca under the stem cell section, and we'll walk you through how to register to become a stem cell donor. So I encourage anyone who's between the ages of 17 and 35, particularly if you're male, to join our registry and sign up that way.
Reporting for Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.
Okay, we're going to take a short break right here. On the other side, more local news after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to Halton News. As the holiday season approaches, many parents are trying to make it extra special because of the pandemic. Well, producer Nikki Wesley reached out to parenting coach Megan Jackson from Joyful Mud Puddles to get some advice about how to navigate the holidays with their little ones this year.
The biggest advice is try to not go too overboard. I mean, have fun, but if you go and hype up these big expectations, either for yourself or your children, that's when you're liable to have some major meltdowns, and it would be awful for that to happen on Christmas Day. Because we tend to overdo it sometimes in our minds, and really what we really need to do is try to keep things as consistent as possible. The same type of foods that you're eating, all of a sudden, all that on extra rush of all the holiday goodies and candy, and then you wonder why your kids are out of control, as well as sleep. You know, it's fun to stay up for an extra movie night and holiday parties, but if that's every day because you're trying to throw in too much extra fun, you need to include some downtime. So although you want to make it fun and exciting, try to bring in 1 or 2 special moments. Really pare down what your values and priorities are for the holiday season, and pick and choose a few things to make it special rather than try to overdo it every day.
So I also wanted to know, because I have a little one myself, the best way to determine what holiday activities your family should make sure to make time for and what could be left out. We asked her that as well.
Best thing that I did was I asked my boys what their favorite memories were and what they were looking forward to most. And then I tried to include what they were already asking for instead of guessing and going overboard. And a lot of the times they just want you and your attention, and that is somewhat free. My oldest, he said specifically, his favorite memory is just sitting around the fireplace, reading stories, looking at the pretty lights on the Christmas tree. I can do that. I can do that all you want, you know, so they may not actually be looking for these big flashy things that you feel you need to compensate for. They just want you and your attention and to know that they're special.
Well, my favorite pastime is sure is cuddles. A rainy day outside the Velodrome in Milton, which is pretty much what our day looked like for most of it today. Tomorrow, though, clouds, a cool one at 4 degrees, but don't worry, the sun will come out. Saturday at 5 degrees, sunshine, more sunshine for Sunday at 9, but have your umbrella handy for some rain on Monday at 8 degrees, and a mix of flurries, maybe some showers thrown in there on Tuesday at a high of 3. Here's a look at our stocks. On the other side of the break, we'll have your update from the Burlington Food Bank. Don't go away. Thanks for sticking with us on Halton News. I'm sure throughout this pandemic you've seen some updates from the Burlington Food Bank. Here is today's.
We've been staying busy here. And on top of just being busy here at the food bank, helping clients and taking in all of the great donations that people have been supplying to us, we're also part of a number of other initiatives. I've had a Feed Ontario meeting today. I'll also be having the Mayor's Task Force later on today, and I'm looking forward to both of these opportunities as we continue to support Feed Ontario and looking at the province as a whole and how we can combat poverty here in Burlington and throughout the province, not just about food banking, but also how to tackle the bigger issues of poverty, huge issues. And then the Mayor's Task Force has been a tremendous way for us to support one another. We get to hear from Joe Brand Hospital and what's going on with COVID, as well as how we as the community can support one another through this very difficult time. Being in the red zone right now, I'm looking forward to hearing from the Mayor and the various parts of the task force as to how we're going to be able to continue on, get us back to a level where we're able to communicate and be once again be with one another and be able to interact and get us into a great spot here in Burlington. Thanks again so much for your continued support, and if you need our assistance, make sure you contact us, info@burlington.ca burlingtonfoodbank.ca or give us a call 905-637-2273.
And of course, the Burlington Food Bank is the only one that's servicing the community in Halton. You can always contact your local food bank or Salvation Army in your community. And now let's take a look at some events happening in the region. Santa is now offering socially distanced porch visits in Milton. I'm excited, so your kids can still get their 2020 Santa photo this year. So for $25, he will visit your front porch in Milton, and you'll get a digital picture of him with your kids. He will also collect their Christmas wish list and letters, and there will be candy canes too. $5 from your purchase will go to support Halton Women's Place. For more info or to register, you have to visit Santa Save 20 on the website right there on your screen, ricksite.com/Safe Santa. Ooh, I'm excited. On to the next event. The Royal Botanical Gardens invites you to discover the magic of nature and light at their Winter Wonders event, which is brand new experience, and you can ride the RBG Express while you're there. You can enjoy this family-friendly wonderland from Wednesday to Sunday at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. until December 23rd, with additional times posted after that date on their website, rbg.ca. Let's take a look at some of your schedule for this evening. Of course, we talked about Burlington Matters at 7:30. We showed a clip of that earlier in the program. Inspiring youth before that at 7 o'clock. Women's volleyball, a rewind, which is pretty cool if you have some fixing for some sporting events. And of course, Inspiring Youth repeats again on Thursday. Halton's Great Outdoors. Now, this is an interesting show that I want to catch as well. 7 o'clock, Thursday, Local Matters. Better Together as One as well. And that is it for the program, of course. I will be back with you tomorrow to fill in for Jessica Kading. Thank you so much for watching. All you have to do is go to our website for more information on our program, YourTV.tv, or connect with us on social media via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I actually do want to hear from you. If you've got a really cool initiative, holiday initiative to bring up our spirits this holiday season, please reach out to us on social media or connect with us on our website, YourTV.tv. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.